Hola a todos, creo que este ya es el último video de toda la secuencia de videos que hemos venido trabajando desde que iniciamos todo este periodo de contingencia y hoy vamos a tratar específicamente un tema que, saben ustedes, viene directamente relacionado con el trabajo final del curso. Hoy vamos a trabajar el concepto de una síntesis de investigación, o como les he dicho a ustedes, la RS, Research Synthesis, del proceso final del curso. Me parece muy importante que ustedes durante este video se den cuenta de cuáles son las consideraciones de cada una de las secciones de ese producto y que a partir de eso empiecen a mirar el ejercicio de la investigación como un ejercicio donde hay que afinar las capacidades de lectura y las capacidades de escritura académica frente a esas normas que venimos estudiando y esas técnicas de construcción textual. Lo que vamos a hacer es preguntarnos inicialmente qué es una síntesis de investigación, y creería que es relevante que entiendan que una síntesis de investigación, más que un producto, debe contemplarse como un proceso, es decir, un proceso que les permite a ustedes consultar literatura de primera, segunda mano, y que por medio de esa conexión de los diferentes autores van a construir un texto que lo van a denominar su marco teórico. Ahora, lo estamos haciendo porque no nos compete como curso trabajar la construcción de un marco teórico, sino más bien conocer cuáles son los procedimientos y las técnicas que tenemos que utilizar para cuando ustedes tengan que empezar su ejercicio de construcción. Una síntesis de investigación, entonces, se puede hacer con 5, 10, 100 artículos, y para nosotros vamos a empezar con un artículo. Ese artículo debe ser aquel que esté alineado con sus intereses, esas nociones incipientes que ustedes consideran van a utilizar para sus trabajos y para su idea de investigación, y que por medio de unas secciones que en un momento les voy a presentar, ustedes empiezan a compilar un texto que va a ser en este caso escrito en inglés y que va a reflejar la lectura que ustedes hicieron de ese artículo de investigación. Me parece también importante contarles que en algún momento se pueden ustedes topar con el término de bibliografía anotada. La bibliografía anotada es también un procedimiento similar que se utiliza para hacer construcciones de marcos teóricos o de revisiones de literatura o estados del arte, que son capítulos de los proyectos. Esas bibliografías anotadas tienen unas características similares a la síntesis, sin embargo en algún momento se vuelven demasiado genéricas y no permiten develar con detalle los contenidos más importantes que ustedes van a abordar desde cada artículo. Así que vamos a comenzar a hacer una revisión de cómo se hace una síntesis de investigación, cuáles son las secciones y cómo se vería un producto final. Comencemos. So, as I have said, a research synthesis implies synthesizing information from an article that you have chosen. Now, synthesis is not exactly the same as summarizing. Remember that summarizing is condensing information that you find in an article, but the synthesis allows to provide a bit more of the voice from the author. You will encounter in the guidelines of this exercise that there are different sections, and one of the sections will be how does this article shed light on my idea of research. If you notice the nature of that question, you are being asked to provide your voice, your opinions, and your own arguments towards what you've been developing through the reading. So, as we know now, we need to synthesize information and you will have different sections. However, I believe that it's important for you to understand the difference between first-hand literature and the different types of articles that you may find in the databases that you are consulting right now. So, we might have two different types of articles. One article, which we're going to label the review article, and another article, which we are going to label the research article. These two types of articles are different. The first type, the review article, has somehow a reflection or a discussion that initiates from the author and develops a topic including different voices, but if you notice, there is no implementation of the research itself. It's just a description of concepts, it's a description of ideas, it's a description of a phenomena that they present as the topic of the study or the article. But different to that, the research article provides different sections in probably the same structure that all academic writing and academic scientific writing develops, which is called the IMRAD. This acronym stands for Introduction, Methodology, Results, and Discussion. You will find in the different subtitles of the research article that they will present the idea in the introduction. They will have a methodological framework in which they explain how they develop the research. And then they will have probably a title called Data Analysis or Results, which is the equivalent to how the methodology was carried out and what they found inside the study. And probably you will have another section called Conclusions or Discussions, in which they start to provide the wrap-up of what happened in the study. Now, what I mean by this is you can use a review article or a research article, and they are both first-hand literature. They will help you construct your theoretical framework, and they will help you, obviously, to construct the research synthesis, which is the product we are aiming to. In this synthesis, we are going to focus on each of those sections. However, depending on the type of article that you're going to use, you need to be careful to define in which section or which questions you're going to use from the guidelines in order to develop the exercise. Now, I want to elaborate a bit more on what is a research synthesis, and I've came across the US UE library, which provides a very good definition of what is a synthesis, and that's why I'm going to display it for you just now. Here we go.
Now that you've done a lot of your research, it's time to figure out how to combine all of your sources to support your argument. This process is called synthesis. One way to think of synthesis is kind of like a puzzle. It requires you to put together different pieces of research from multiple sources to form a new picture. But be careful, your audience will be able to tell if you try to force a piece into a spot where it doesn't fit. Depending on how you organize the pieces, the story you tell will look a little different. The process of synthesis goes farther than just summarizing sources, or even comparing and contrasting multiple sources, and beyond mere critiques of sources. Also, when synthesizing, you are not just direct quoting other authors without using your own voice. Ultimately, you engage in synthesis to make your own point and add to the conversation. Make sure your voice is the strongest voice in the paper. Before you can effectively synthesize your research, you will need to identify the main conversations taking place on your topic. Synthesis requires you to think critically about your research and identify major themes, strengths, weaknesses, and critical gaps in the research. As you read article after article for your research paper, you should begin to notice significant conversations surrounding your topic. Ask yourself what are some of the common themes or subtopics that keep appearing in the articles you're reading. Make note of these conversations or main ideas because this will help you organize your research paper. Many students fail to synthesize their research because they organize their paper source by source. Synthesis requires you to organize idea by idea, not source by source. Use common themes in your research to help you decide what your main ideas will be. What is the conversation surrounding a main idea? To really know that conversation, you need to have looked at it from multiple perspectives or sources. The sources you choose to include, your analysis, and how you organize them in a meaningful way make your research paper unique. This means you are developing your own understanding of the conversations surrounding your topic and explicitly stating how they connect to your own argument.
As you just watched, this video from the Utah State University provides a very good description about the ways that you can construct or build the synthesis based on the different articles that you've read. Now, remember that this video talks about the construction of a theoretical framework, and we're not doing that. We are constructing one research synthesis, and that's why we don't have to read several articles. However, I wanted to show it to you so that you understand what you're going to do in the future when you start to construct your research synthesis. Now, I also want to highlight the fact that the exercise of developing a research synthesis implies detailed reading of the different sections of an article, and that other than that, we need to establish a very coherent position between each of the sections that I read and the way that I refer or that I talk about that article. Now, what we're going to do is to take a look at the questions and some examples of how this looks like when we start to do the analysis for our own purpose. Here we go. So let me walk you through the guidelines for the final paper of Academic Discourse 2. This is a document which I will also attach to the Learning Pack number 7, and you will have a chance to read it in detail. I just want to show you the main aspects of this document so that you know how to use it and that you exactly know how to look for the article that is expected to read or to follow the theme that you have decided. So in this document, you've got the explanation for what the final test is, which is just right here in the rationale document. And then we're going to move on to this part, which talks about one of the types of articles that you may find. This first type of article will be called the research synthesis for a research article. Now, if you happen to come across an article that follows this nature of a research article, then you will have to come and extract the bibliographical reference, what are the research questions, purpose or objective, who are the participants, what is the research context, what are the major debates in the field that the researchers are reporting in the review, what are the main findings reported in this particular study, and lastly, what insights have you gained about your idea for research based on the research article you read. If you notice, this last one is your voice. It talks about your conception of what has happened after you read the article, and then all the instructions on how to upload it, where to send it, and the date of submission, which will be until Friday the 5th of June. Now, it might happen that probably you will not follow the structure of a research article, but instead you will follow the structure of a research synthesis for a review article. If that is your case, please notice that the sections are different. That is, the questions are changed. Now, the first one is exactly the same. We make the bibliographical reference. Then what we follow is the main theme or the construct of the article. Following that, we've got what are the key research findings presented in the article, and then which controversies or debates are highlighted. After that, you will explore what are the gaps of knowledge or unanswered questions manifested in the article, and lastly, what insights have you gained about your idea for research based on the research article you read. Just exactly as a research article, this one also talks about your voice. What do you think might have happened with your idea after you've implemented this reading exercise? The instructions to send it are exactly the same, with the same due date, and therefore, with that, we have concluded which are the guidelines, which are, as I have said to you, you may find them in the learning pack number 7, where you've got all the information about it. So I brought here another example for you to take a look at, mainly because I want to highlight some of the common flaws that happen when you are developing a research synthesis. At the beginning is exactly the same, the bibliographical reference, just a bit of a problem here, which is the use of the italics, or the not use of the italics when referring the name of the journal. In this case, the research question is developing an in-text citing. The problem is that it's using the first letter of the name of the author, which shouldn't be included, remember, just in the bibliographical reference. And I want to stop here because this part is very important. If you notice, in the research questions, you can copy and paste the research questions as it is on the original article. Now, some people may begin to do the paraphrasing of the research questions because they believe that you're plagiarizing or you're not doing the paraphrases as we've talked about. What you're going to do for this specific exercise is that if you find in the article the research questions, you just copy and paste them. There is no problem of plagiarism. These are the types of aspects in research that need a little bit of detail and sometimes is very confusing for students. Now, in the case that you don't find the research questions, then what you have to do is abstract the objective or the purpose of the study. If you do that, then you will be able to accomplish this section, which is called the research question. Now we're going to move to the participants and the research context. In this one, we've got exactly the same information. Just the major flaw is there is no reference of the research. I don't see the authors anywhere. So it seems as if they came up with the information here. We have again the same problem. And now we've got this information, which is also everything related using double text citing, as I talked to you about. And now the extension of the article, which is mostly to 3 to 4 pages. Now, remember that in a research synthesis, we need to focus carefully on the extension because a research synthesis is normally about 4 to 6 pages long. If you develop a synthesis in, say, 2 pages, I'm sure that you won't capture as much information from the original article as it should be. Well, I hope that most of the information was clear. I hope that you grasp what is the intention that we want to achieve with this exercise, mainly by showing you some examples and the sections that you're going to evaluate and analyze and synthesize from the original article that you've been reading. You may pick up very important use of the language. You may also pick up some ideas and probably define if that is the idea you want to focus on, or probably you came across an article that you don't like, and now you know that that is not the path that you're going to take for your research project. So hopefully most of the information was clear. Hopefully you have now a notion of where you're going to take the route to begin the exercise of defining your graduation project. And hopefully the information and the exercises that we'll bring in further sessions will provide you a more in-depth conception of how to do this exercise, which is the final product. I really enjoyed the way that we've worked these sessions. Probably might be very dense as part of the information that we work in, and I know that we enjoy to have someone in front of us talking to us and showing us how to do the exercise. But the circumstances brings us to do these type of things. If there is, of course, any question, do not hesitate to contact me. Or if you want to expand or elaborate a bit more about something that is not clear, please contact me and probably I give you some further information of how to do the exercise or a question that may arise when you are developing. I know that several questions will deploy from this exercise, especially because this is the first time that I guess you will read a first-hand literature article, and I know that there will be several questions that will be explained as we begin these feedback sessions on the following weeks. That is all for the session. I really wish that you could do that reading and enjoy that type of reading for the construction of the last product. And that is all. Bye bye.